I haven't talked to you in forever.
I know I've been very, very busy. So it has been a while.
I did. You've been busy. I've been on a cruise. Yeah, it feels like forever. I feel like I haven't talked to you in weeks, even though we still text. But it's just I feel out of
Yeah.
sync. I feel like we're out of sync together.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that we are catching up today because we have lots of stuff to talk about. I've not been this excited to talk about some of our articles and
There's
some
some good
time.
articles this week, and actually, I didn't even get to tell you this because this is how much we haven't talked yet. I got to see one of our show followers in the airport yesterday. Kathy Maddox came up to me. I've never met her
Oh, that's
in
fantastic! You
person,
didn't tell
so
me.
shout out
Okay.
to Kathy. Um, it was great fun. I didn't even get to tell you that because just yesterday was travel day. It's
It is
chaos.
crazy. It is crazy. Whenever I'm traveling, I feel like I fall off the face of the earth. Like, here's a question: did you use Flighty?
No, because I had a lot of work drama going on yesterday, so that was kind of at my forefront. So I didn't even realize how long I'd been on this particular work call yesterday until I looked at my gate and I was like, oh, I feel like I've been on here a hot minute. And it actually said delayed. And I was like, when I looked at my phone, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been on this phone for 15 minutes. I only should have been on here for 20.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, that was the only travel issue I incurred is that my flight from Atlanta to Buffalo was delayed 30 minutes.
that's not terrible. That's not terrible.
No, I don't think so. And I mean, especially with all the weather going through and, you know, then seeing all the hurricane memes and jokes. And, since I was on Disney, somebody used the Mary Poppins Dick Van Dyke where he's like, something's brewing, like winds in the east. It's
That's
like,
funny.
eh.
Well, it is top of the hour. Let's get started. All right, guys, we have a lot to discuss. I am Jason, travel advisor with Cruise Planners, and just love talking about cruises and hotels and airlines. It's an airline heavy show today, so I'm really excited. Haley, how are you this morning? And are you excited to talk about
I'm
some airlines?
good. We're going to talk about some airline stuff. I always love talking airline stuff with you. But my name is Haley. I own a hotel sales support company called Hospitality with a Flair. I travel blog and I've been in the hotel industry for 15. I can't believe I'll be saying 16 very soon years. Worked with hundreds of hotels all across this continent that we live on. But yeah, a lot of heavy pieces. Guys, remember if you're going to comment and you're on Facebook watching, put your name in your comment. Otherwise, we don't know who you are unless you're here on Restream or YouTube, which is the primary channel. We will be able to see your name, but Facebook, not so much. So, Jason.
Okay, it was tough to know where to start, but then I saw this and there was nowhere else to start. All right, guys, this is exciting news. Virgin Atlantic, the British-based airline, is joining SkyTeam. So if you don't remember there's three main airline alliances: One World, which is American and their partners; Star Alliance, which is United and their partners; but SkyTeam is Delta and their partners. Now, if you're a Delta fan, this probably isn't going to affect you tremendously because Delta and Virgin Atlantic already have a code sharing partnership. Your status just moves over. So you kind of already felt like Virgin. I mean, I'm flying Virgin in 3 weeks and I
I'm
booked
so
it through.
excited for you to do that.
I'm too. So I booked
Love
it
it.
through delta.com.
Wait.
But what is going to be nice is for the other SkyTeam airlines who don't have partnership with Virgin Atlantic. So think China Airlines, Korean Air, Vietnam Airlines, those other SkyTeam airlines. Now that opens up just more options for them. And I'm hoping we're going to see even more flights with Virgin built into like Delta and the KLM, Air France. So I am just really, really excited for SkyTeam expanding its global network.
With Delta, the most on time airline.
On-time airline in the world.
I had,
I
to,
mean,
I had to explain that to my mom yesterday because she's like, oh, I want to do this flight, but it's only a 45-minute layover. I'm like, Mom, that's really an hour 15.
Right. Well, so I have an hour layover going across the pond at the end of next month, and I'm a little worried about it. It's an hour, but it's Nashville, Atlanta. It'll take like 30 minutes. Like they usually land early. But I'm still a little nervous an hour for an international flight, but it's the most on-time airline in the country. So yeah, so
We
great
understood about 30
news. I'm so excited. I got way too excited for this. Now, let's jump over to our friends over at One World. So if you remember, Haley and I talked about, some time ago, JetBlue and American were entering into an alliance. Um, so JetBlue kind of tiptoeing their way into like One World membership. So they were doing code sharing. You could go to aa.com and see JetBlue flights, or you could go to jetblue.com and see AA flights. Like I had some friends who thought that they booked an AA flight. They got on board. They're like, why am I on this janky JetBlue? Why am I on this janky JetBlue flight? So the Department of Justice has some issues with JetBlue and American aligning themselves together, some antitrust issues. But look, there's not that many options for national carriers in the United States. I mean, that's really, your three legacies. You have your Southwest, you have your JetBlue, and that's kind of it as far as like your national. I mean, I know Spirit has some stuff and Allegiant, but like,
no, but it's true because you kind of just have that. I mean, technically, I guess JetBlue and Southwest are in the middle, but your choices these days are legacy or budget.
Yes. So the DOJ has some questions. AA and JetBlue are, of course, saying this is good for competition. But let's be honest, you only merge for one reason, to raise prices. You don't merge to ever lower prices, ever. Right? So the DOJ has some questions. I mean, I think ultimately it will probably pass, but maybe with some stipulations. But I'm anxious to see the government argument and the airline's response.
That's going to lead into the next topic.
Yeah.
So I'll do this because I definitely want to like get into this.
I like this. So my administration came out and said, you need to know the full cost of your ticket when you are shopping online. And guys, I could not agree more. Now, there are some websites and airlines that do show you, like if you're Southwest.com. Southwest.com does a very good job of providing transparent pricing. They really do.
Transparency.
Well done. So that they really do a good job. And even, some airlines like Delta, we don't really pay more than like what we see, right? Especially if you get free check bags and whatnot, right? And I don't think they should add bag fees in there, but that's not required to fly.
Yeah.
But there are airlines, especially the budget airlines, you might see a flight for $39. Oh, you want to pick your seat? That's plus 30. Like, oh, you want to pick a seat next to you? Two of them? That's another $30, right? Oh, you have the credit card and not like give us your bank information. That's another $10, right? So there's just all these fees that get added. So all of a sudden that $39, $49 flight, like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Because I mean, like occasionally, like, Olivia and I will go down, like we have friends that used to live in Orlando, or we go to Disney or something and hop on one of those like Frontier-esque flights.
Mm-hmm.
I know what to expect.
Right.
And I know that like me, out of all those fees, I'm willing to pay for like selecting where my seat is, but I never do like the extra baggage thing. Honestly, my videos that have been doing the best on my channel is how to pack in a personal sized bag for a trip, because it does get very monotonous. And I think to a degree as well, talking about JetBlue, I feel like if you're going to be looped into that legacy carrier world, this level based on baggage allotment, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of some of that. I mean, because United, for example, United's basic economy, it's just a personal bag. And seeing that on that tier of legacy-ish carriers that are supposed to be a more luxury, high-end, quote-unquote experience, I think it's a little crazy. I expect it from Frontier. I expect it from Spirit. I expect it from Allegiant and all these other little ones. But I think if you're getting looped into that legacy group, I think there should be stipulations based on, kind of type of product as well too.
It is frustrating, like when I book JetBlue flights for clients, and like, oh, that's not a bad price, and you click on it, and it's just like
No bags.
Right, like no bags, no this, and can't change, no seats. It's just like, oh, come on, like stop playing this bait and switch game. So I'm excited, and this comes on the heels of what we talked about just a week or two ago, that the administration is talking about airlines. Like, guys, you need to clean up your scheduling, or we're going to come in and do it for you.
And and speaking of that too, I cannot tell you the number of schedule changes that I've been getting from Delta in my email for flights that are in December or February. I mean, my flights, let's see here. My flight coming home from Rome, and this comes with when you book them separately, just bumped up by 2 hours. So now I need to call Delta later today and actually find something that leaves later.
Right.
Because it's too close for comfort. Because it will literally leave me 30 minutes, and that's clearing customs and stuff.
No, there's no way. There's no way you can do it.
No way.
There's no way.
No way. That terminal, based on where I've got to go, I have to take a half-mile walk after I finish customs just to get there.
Right.
But even our flights to London on Christmas Day moved up 2 hours.
Right.
Right. We're seeing a lot of that, and I hope a version of this starts to transfer over to hotels as well.
I hope so too.
Like, one of the things that drives me absolutely bonkers in hotel world are full service hotels that still charge for Wi-Fi. It is 2022.
Right.
Like, I know that this is a first world problem, but like I feel like that's a basic necessity with people getting alerts on airline changes. Your business center isn't going to cut it for your 600 room hotel.
Right. No, I
agree. Like that is happening.
No, I agree.
Or it's like, sign it, like make them sign up for your rewards program to log in. Like, sure, fine, whatever. Right. But like, the hotel that we stayed at, the Marriott Biscayne, the internet wasn't free unless you were gold or platinum, whatever it is on their higher tier. And I mean, like, we get it with our Amex card, but
right.
I don't know. It was just kind of crazy.
No, I agree. I mean, I think Wi-Fi is almost like a basic necessity these days when you're traveling. But again, I don't use
resort fees, Jason's favorite thing in the world.
Well, I don't use Wi-Fi a ton in hotels. I mean, I just leave my phone just usually on cellular, unless it's a bad area for cellular. Then I'll jump on the Wi-Fi. But for the most
part, laptop, I just, like I was working Friday morning,
right,
had the laptop up, was doing my thing and whatnot. But I don't know. I just think that's crazy, and I think the resort fees, I hope they're next kind of on this list.
I do too.
Because, and even seeing the model that like TWA does, that TWA hotel, where it's like, oh, if you want to go swimming, you need to pay this. It's like, no, that's an amenity of your hotel.
I agree.
I feel a certain way on those.
I know. I agree completely. All right. So good news for those who are traveling to Canada. On October 1st, Canada is ending all entry requirements, so no longer required to show any vaccines for COVID, no longer required any type of test. I'm hoping this is going to be the end of any type of like form we have to fill out on the cruises to get into Canada, which no one even freaking asked for. So Canada was one of the last countries to still have some restrictions in place. Now the list is down to it's getting smaller and smaller, and so this is great news for our friends who are wanting to travel to the Great North.
45 minutes that way.
45 minutes that way. for you. All right, I thought this was pretty fun. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's an NFL team, a football team. If you're not in the United States watching us, they are hosting essentially a chartered sailing, a first ever Tampa Bay fan cruise. It's a 4-night cruise in March of next year on the Celebrity Summit. I love the Celebrity Summit. And this is great. So it's a partnership with Celebrity Cruises, and Cruise Planners is actually the one has the exclusive rights to do all the bookings. So I think this is really fun if you're a diehard Tampa fan.
So I'm assuming there's not group rates on this if like Cruise Planners is doing it, or like how does that work?
It's a standard. So they basically chartered the ship. So Cruise Planners basically bought the ship, and they're selling every room at the same price.
Will Brady be there? We have the question. Remember,
will Brady be there? You know what? I don't think he will be. So other people, I saw the list of names, and Tom Brady is not going to be on there, unfortunately.
Oh no. Well, last little piece here. I took my first Disney cruise. And to say that people had questions was an understatement. My like Instagram DMs were just blowing up, and they're like, how do you rate it compared to Royal? How do you rate? If I had to put it somewhere, I would put it in between Royal and like Celebrity. Like I would just overall there were things that, so Private Island, I mean, it was beautiful, kind of reminded me a little bit of old Coco Cay-ish a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, Perfect Day Coco Cay is nice. And I think it's because of the pool and the variety of options. Like, so I'd say like if you're comparing Private Island to Private Island, Perfect Day Coco Cay is just a slam dunk there. The buffet honestly was similar. I'd say that Royal and Celebrity had a little bit more of an advantage because there's more expanded offerings, like in the international way of the world here. Room service was fantastic, much better than Royals, and it's free 24/7 on Disney. And I think where I have to give the biggest nod now, if you're not a suite guest like my fellow companion here, the balconies are hands down the best balconies I've ever sailed in. The beds, hands down, best cruise bed period that I've ever been in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like it was like kind of cushy. The bedding was, and they were big pillows. They weren't like the smaller like queen size standard pillows.
Right.
And the bathrooms are truly unique. There's 2 doors. So one door is a toilet and a sink, and then the next door is a sink and a tub shower combo, and that's how they all are. So it's none of those, little tubes that you're putting yourself into. So space-wise, very, very efficient. Hands down, my favorite. Of course, there's the Disney experiences, whatnot. Like we didn't do a lot of the character stuff. Like we did the Halloween party. The biggest standout, of course, with it being Disney, is the shows. Did
you dress up for this Halloween party?
I did.
What was the costume?
Jeffrey went as Nemo, and I went as Darla from Finding Nemo. I had a bag with a fish.
Isn't that the girl that had the bag? Yeah. Okay.
I walked with a bag all night. Olivia, she needed a second.
Just shaking Jeff all night. Just shaking Jeff.
Well, there's this really funny story, and I will definitely lay this out here for everybody. So, it's out of Miami, so there's a lot of, Spanish-speaking people on board.
Sure.
Miami. And as we were getting in the elevator on deck 3 after dinner to go up to deck 11 for the Halloween party with everybody, this little girl, maybe 3, is staring at Jeff, just like mesmerized, because he's got this big, huge Nemo thing, and her mother's talking to her in Spanish, like, oh, it's Buscando a Nemo, like it's Finding Nemo and whatnot. We get in the elevator, and her just big brown eyes, she's like, Nemo Grande. And I started laughing. I just looked down, I was like, sí, es muy fácil para buscar a Nemo. And everybody else in the elevator spoke Spanish, so they all laughed, because I was like, yeah, that's why it was so easy to find him. But it was cute. They had kids trick-or-treating, but like my favorite piece of this overall, if I had to pick my favorites, were the thermal spa was amazing. It had 2 hot tubs that were ocean viewing, the different steam rooms, showers, fantastic. And then the shows. The shows were just
It's Disney.
amazing.
It's,
And
it's Disney.
it was, we got to watch Beauty and the Beast, and then they had these 2 signature shows that were made just for the ships, and it was just, oh my goodness. And Olivia does say that it is now her favorite. I asked her, I'm just like, well, if you had your choice between, Royal this, she's like, I loved this. She's like, she loved the aqueduct, she loved the activities, but she's a Disney girl. But
Right.
it was a really, really great experience. And I think if you have kids, it is definitely worth a look, because it's nice that even though it is more expensive, so much was included, like, soda, gratuities, like everything was kind of wrapped in.
Right. Okay. Well, great review.
Question of the day, because we did say this was a flight heavy show today.
Yeah. So I'm curious, when you're pricing out flights, what is the most important factor to you, right? So, as a travel advisor, I struggle with this, right? Because everybody's list of priorities are different, right? Some people will take the 4 a.m. flight to save $60, and some people, will not, right? Some people only want a certain airline, no matter what. Some people want nonstop, no matter what. So what is the most important factor for you, or 1 or 2, and maybe even 3 factors for you when you are selecting flights?
So nonstop is not really a factor based on where I live. I'm always going to be connecting somewhere unless I am flying like Southwest to Florida, which, based on where my loyalties lie and elsewhere I go, I still just book Delta anyways. For me, I think it's price and duration.
Okay.
Like, I would much rather find something, duration. I would pay a little bit more for a flight that had maybe a 2-hour layover in JFK versus a 6 or 7-hour layover in JFK.
Okay.
So I think it's duration and price. Like, I'm willing to, but at that same time, if, that 6-hour duration is hundreds of dollars cheaper, I will shut up and go hang out in the Sky Club or the Centurion Lounge and do that. So, me, it's price and duration. And ideally on Delta is kind of, I think, where I would rank them out. What about you?
So, number 1 for me is Airline, right? So nonstop isn't a huge factor for me. I used to be obsessed with nonstop. I mean, for example, I'm going to London in 2 weeks or so. There is a nonstop British Airways flight, Nashville to London. I am not taking it. I'm doing Nashville, JFK, London, because doing Delta or Virgin Atlantic SkyTeam is more important to me because of status and miles. And I fly enough that I don't want my miles to be scattered all over the place, right? Like, I want to keep them in a centralized location, right? There is, but I'm torn sometimes, right? For like the cheap.
Somebody thinks you're insane.
I don't know who it is.
The BA flight was cheaper. Wasn't it more expensive?
Oh, it was outrageous. The BA flight was outrageous. Like, I could not believe how expensive it was. I mean, if it had been like really, really inexpensive, I might have been tempted to do it. But no, it was out. Like, I'm not paying more for British Airways. Like, no way. When you see the lines at international airports for BA, it could be free, and I probably still would not fly British Airways. Okay, like,
I'll never forget the first time I flew British, and it was the first time I went across the pond to Italy.
oh.
And we had a layover at Heathrow, and I booked what I thought was an American ticket.
Oh, right.
And I get up, and I mean, the staff on board was fantastic. The staff, but it was this old, I think it was a 777. It had the old cloth seats that were slightly pilled. And I will say, they are the old economy seats, and they were bigger than the regular economy seats nowadays. And I mean, but it was just, I don't know, the cloth seats just bother me.
They're gross. They're gross. No, they're gross. Yeah, so I would say airline, nonstop to a degree, right? I mean, I'm doing a group cruise in December out of Fort Lauderdale on the Celebrity Beyond,
I don't
and
even know who's commenting on Facebook because they
this is
didn't.
this has got to be Ken Jarvis. It says
It's got to
Facebook.
be Jarvis. It
It's got to
has
be
to
Jarvis.
be
It was
Jarvis.
earlier.
Product.
Earlier, I saw somebody say One World, the world's largest alliance, which is funny because they're actually the world's smallest alliance. But whatever. I mean, facts matter.
It has to be Jarvis.
Facts matter. So I'm flying to Fort Lauderdale in December for the Celebrity Beyond group cruise that I'm doing, and I can do a nonstop with Southwest, Nashville, Fort Lauderdale, nonstop, or I can do Delta and connect in Atlanta. And I think I'm going to do the connecting through Atlanta. There is just something nice about if there's a problem, you can call your medallion desk and they pick up immediately. So that's mine. But look, if you don't fly a lot and airline loyalty doesn't matter to you, I understand the appeal that like a lot of people in here are saying nonstop. And I do understand that appeal.
Yeah. I mean, I could be swayed to potentially do a different airline across the pond if the price was right. And I was still in my, I'm kind of in this perpetual cycle of I will always have so much rollover that I will always keep my platinum medallion. I don't think I will be able to make the push for diamond for a while with where the spend is, because I have to put so much on my other Amex for my company. So I don't think I'll end up hitting that. But I mean, if there was a decent enough price across the pond for a direct flight on Polaris, like business class especially, I would consider it.
Right. Okay. I thought that was a good discussion. Now we have to talk about something that's a little more on the sad side. As we all know, there is a hurricane brewing, out there, and people are asking, what does travel insurance cover and what doesn't it cover, right? So every time there's a hurricane, I get these questions all the time, right? So if you want to cancel a cruise or cancel your resort or just cancel your hotel in Mexico or wherever, and the hotel hasn't closed, the resort hasn't closed, or the cruise has not been canceled, that is not worthy of a claim. Okay. Bad weather is not worthy of a claim with travel insurance. Okay. The next question I get is, oh my goodness, I really booked this cruise for ports X, Y, and Z. Now we're going to different ports. Can I cancel? It's like, no, you cannot cancel. Your cruise contract clearly states the itinerary can change for any reason at any time without any explanation. So you cannot cancel a cruise because of itinerary change. You cannot cancel a resort if reasonable other accommodations are being made. But in a hurricane instance, that they're not moving you from one resort to another resort on the same island, usually if a hurricane's coming, right? But if they're like, oh, this resort. But
what about when you're actually there?
No, great question. So, I have an example of this, right? So years ago, I was on my brother's bachelor cruise. Okay. It was a 3-night cruise turned into 5 nights because of a hurricane. Yeah. 5 nights because of a hurricane, right? So we all had to missed our flights. It was just a mess, right? So we were able to file claims with the insurance company because it was out of our control. The cruise could not dock. It wasn't just a change of itinerary. It was a total change of everything at the end of the trip. So any type of change fees, higher ticket prices for flights, we were able to claim. Now, if you're sitting at Sandals, Montego Bay, and a hurricane is coming, and they shut down the resort and you have to fly home urgently, and pay those change fees and the high last minute prices, that is something you can claim on your travel insurance. But that is considered like trip cancellation or interruption, I should say, kind of last minute. So
That's good to know. And guys, remember, you still have to buy that initially. Like, you cannot say, "Oh, travel insurance. Can you do this?" I forget sometimes because you and I talk about this all the time, and we're very subjective on it. But just remember, when you have travel insurance, it doesn't mean that it's going to pay you that point in time. You will have to buy the new tickets, buy this, and submit them. And of course, if anybody is traveling, we're kind of coming up on this tail end of hurricane season. We always know September is kind of normally rough. September, August, even into October, like that's kind of the peak. Take pictures of everything, even if you're at the airport and it's delayed signs, like everything.
Oh yeah, I mean when I missed when I missed my one of my Greece cruises last year, I mean I was just taking pictures of everything, delayed signs, screenshots of the app, so that when I submitted my claim, I mean I just sent them like 15 pictures, right? Just proof of this is what actually happened, right? So if you are flying to Florida this weekend and a cruise has not been canceled, which I don't think many of them are going to be canceled from like the Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Port Canaveral side of thing, depending on when it hits. The cruises from Tampa, that's a bit more. I mean, that's kind of where it looks like it's going to hit. But take pictures of everything. Take screenshots of your flight out, which was the tip last week. You have to have the airlines app on your phone. You have to. So
absolutely, and it's a huge necessity. I just want to double check, make sure. I thought I saw a question I wanted us to answer before we left. Nope. I think we got them all. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Of course, we'd appreciate it if you guys shared this travel group with some of your friends or on Facebook. There's the link there. I love when people are posting questions in there and the group is just able to help out. This is a very collaborative group. So any tips that you have, any questions that you have, please feel free to post them, share it with your friends, because that only gets better the more people we have in there. And don't forget to follow the YouTube channel as well.
Awesome. Well, Haley, have a great day, guys. If you're in Florida, please stay safe, and we'll be thinking about you.
All right. Bye.